What is going on, everyone? My name is Under the Radar, and welcome back to the Draft League Viabilities. In the last episode, I went over 2 mons that I really am looking forward to using in Draft League format, and in this week's episode, I'm going to be talking about 2 mons that I think not a whole lot of people are considering in Draft League format, and the first one that we will be talking about today is in fact Mimikyou. I chose to talk about Mimikyou first in today's video simply because I think its ability is going to make it extremely useful in the Draft League format. The fact that it gets up a free hit 1 turn a game is absolutely amazing. Whenever you take the time to consider that it has access to Priority Shadow Sneak and Swords Dance, you're guaranteed a free Swords Dance. So if you have the likes on your team to weaken down the opponent's team and you get up that free Swords Dance, it's an instant easy pick off of a couple mons. Mimikyou also has a really good support moveset in having access to the likes of Thunder Wave, Will-O-Wisp, and Pain Split, and couple that with its pretty decent SPDEF stat, it can actually take on some hits along with be a very good pivot for your team. Having base 96 speed is also extremely cool because there's not many mons in that speed tier. It outspeeds all of the base 95s, which is pretty prevalent, but it is undersped by base 100s. So the fact that it can outspeed a lot of slower wall breakers makes it really cool that it can outspeed him and hit him with a very powerful Shadow Claw or play rough. While base 90 physical attack is not a massive amount of attack, whenever you look at the fact that it does get that free Swords Dance up or that free bulk up or whatever you want, and it's access to very high power moves in Wood Hammer, Play Rough, Shadow Claw, and Shadow Sneak, it has enough to actually hold its own and be very hard hitting. It also has access to some nice other moves in Leech Seed. It has access to Destiny Bond, so if you're going up something that's a little bit slower of an offensive mon, like say a bulk up Conkeldurr, all you have to do is set up a Destiny Bond and now your Conkeldurr is going to kill itself. I think the main thing that Mimikyou will be very useful for in League format is being a very good setup sweeper and late game cleaner. As I said before, Swords Dance plus Shadow Sneak is extremely useful to have on pretty much any team, and being able to have that free Swords Dance without having to waste any HP on your own substitute is insanely good. I think that Mimikyou actually needs to be paired up with a couple of things in order to be extremely successful. I think it needs to be paired up with fast and slow U-turn or volt switch. With that, it gives you that free fast switch in, so if like you know that you're going to be able to outspeed something, threaten it out, and you go for volt switch with like say a Tapu Koko or a Jolteon or something like that. You threaten out a mon, you can send in Mimikyou for free on something that could be setup fodder, and then you get to set up and win. I also think that having the slow U-turn would be really useful because if you're in against something like say a Darmanitan and you have a Rotom Wash, you live a Flare Blitz, click Volt Switch, and then you get into your Mimikyou for free, it's in range of a Shadow Sneak now, or you get up that Swords Dance on that free Swords Dance, and you get to Shadow Sneak it to death and pretty much sweep through the rest of the game. Having the momentum gaining to get into Mimikyou is completely key, or making sure that you know when you have enough sacks to get into Mimikyou at the right time to win the game. I also think that Hazard Stack is extremely important for Mimikyou. I think that Hazard Stack is really important because of the fact that it is such a weak mon at only base 90 attack. Having access to Stealth Rocks and the layer of spikes or a layer of Toxic Spikes on your side of the field is going to make it so all you have to do is make sure that once they come in on Stealth Rocks and Spikes, they're within range. If you have that slow and fast U-turn, you're going to be forcing switches on your opponent's side of the field anyway, and they're going to be taking even more damage than what they wanted to, making Mimikyou's job extremely easy of picking things off. Sometimes it won't even need the free Swords Dance. The fact that Mimikyou does have base 105 SPDEF, it also opens up doors for it being a pretty good dragon check in general. Things like Hydreigon with Dark Pulse, if you throw a Colbur Berry on it, you're guaranteed to live a Dark Pulse. If you don't even need the Colbur Berry if you have your Disguise up. If you're going up against something like a Salamence, it can't really touch you if you're physically defensive, especially if you have that Disguise up. If they're locking themselves into things like Banded Outrage or Scarfed Dragon Claw, nothing can really lock themselves into anything as long as Mimikyou is around, unless they want to break the disguise and lose a big win con like a Salamence, a Dragonite, a Hydreigon, or anything like that. While there's a lot of things that Mimikyou can do offensively, the fact that it can have a wide variety of items to go along with it is extremely crucial. And I know that sounds really dumb because you can put any item on anything, but Mimikyou, it lacks one big major part of its entire usefulness in its ability that is so amazing. What I mean by that is the fact that statuses can go through the disguise. So if you're going up against another ghost type, it can actually Will-O-Wisp you through your disguise. So having Lumberry plus Shadow Claw and Swords Dance is actually really useful because now you don't have to worry about being Thunder Waved or Toxicked or Will-O-Wisp while you still have your disguise up. I think that there are a lot of really good pairs that you can actually go along with Mimikyu. The number one really cool thing that I love going along with Mimikyu is actually Komala. Reason being because, as I said, its disguise ability is really hurt by status like Thunder Wave and Will-O-Wisp and Toxic and things like that. Komala is immune to every single one of them aside from Sleep. Not only is it immune to all of those statuses, it gives you the slow U-turn that you need. It gives you the hazard removal. It gives you so much that I think Mimikyu will need to be prevalent, and it also gives you a very specially defensive mon that can be useful in League format. And the typing synergy between them goes amazing. Komala is weak to fighting. Mimikyu is immune to fighting. Mimikyu is weak to dark, ghost, things like that. Komala can eat some of those hits up as long as they're special. And one really important thing that I think I just mentioned, but I'm gonna plow that in one more time, is the fact that it gives you a rapid spinner. This is huge because in League format, if you have a mon that relies on hazard stack to be able to sweep a team late game, you want to have a very good rapid spinner. And with having a rapid spinner that is also a wish passer and a slow U-turner, Komala just works out so well with Mimikyu. I love the idea of those two together. As an offensive mon to go with it though, I think that any speedy electric type would be really, really good with this thing. Mainly Tapu Koko. Reason being, it can get the really fast Volt Switch, it can be a mixed attacker, it has the U-turn so it can go well with having that slow and fast U-turn with Komala and Tapu Koko. There are a couple of mons that I think go really, really, really well with what Mimikyu can do as a Pokemon, but the best one I think is actually Lucario, and I think that's going to catch a couple people off guard, but if you watched my Draft League Viability on Lucario, you will know that I think Lucario is one of the best setup sweepers in the entire Draft League format. Now, why is this important when you already have a really good setup sweeper in Mimikyu? Because if you are Swords Dance Lucario and Swords Dance Mimikyu, they're not going to have enough checks for both of them. Offensively, Mimikyu takes out what Lucario struggles with, like the bulky Psychic type, and what Mimikyu can struggle with, like the really fast mons, Lucario has like Nasty Plot Vacuum Wave and Extreme Speed, and it has the coverage to take out what Mimikyu can't. But the thought of having two extremely powerful setup mons side by side on the same team is really scary for someone to go up against. Whenever you have a setup based team, there's not much that they can do to stop all of your setup problems. Ultimately though, I think that Mimikyu might actually be the Lucario of Draft League formats for the first couple seasons that it's around, and it's going to start to die off, and then towards the end of 7th gen I think it's going to come right back in again, similar to how Lucario did in 6th generation. Well guys, that's going to be it for this Draft League Viability on Mimikyu. Let me know what you guys think of Mimikyu down in the comment section below. Let me know if you also think that what I pair it with is actually a really good idea, or leave me some other pairings down in the comment section below. Well guys, that's all I have for you today. If you did enjoy, please make sure to leave a like for me, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next Draft League Viability video, or the next video that I upload. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye!